up, everyone? It's currently nighttime. I just finished watering my plants. We've been watching TV all night or all day because me and my sister are both on our moon cycles. So we've been resting. Oh my god, that's a real bird. That's a real bird. It's over there in the power line, I think. Oh wait, no. You hear that?
Yeah.
You know, you can't see me right now, but one second, I'm gonna go turn on the lights. 1 second. Hit the lights. Let the music move you. Grounding feels so good while you're on your moon cycle. This is all you want to do. POV, you're a womb being on their moon. Okay, POV, you're a womb being on their moon cycle. Take 2. Reason, I hope you do believe me. Oh my god. I'm so happy we're outside. Give thanks for Mother Nature. Oh my god, I'm so tired of watching TV. I'm currently outside, as you can tell, and I've just been sitting here. I've just been sitting with myself because last night, right before I was about to start getting ready for the night, some emotions came up, some energy and motion came up, and I was like just not feeling so good. I guess like emotionally, my mental state was like being so rude to me, and just healing was happening, and I'm just so grateful because the way that I've been handling every moment where something does come up for me has been so different than how I would have handled it before. I feel like before I would have just like continued to believe that I am not worthy enough, or that I should change who I am so I can be loved, or that I don't deserve to be loved. Before I would like give into that and love this white butterfly, because it's like my conditioning of like what I was taught growing up and what I thought I had to do to be loved, and kind of the part that I played into how I was given love and how I received love was by thinking like, oh, I need to change who I am. I need to be what other people want me to be so that I can feel loved or be loved. And lately I've been realizing like that's not the case at all. And the reason why people even love me, and the people that I have in my life that love me, is because a lot of the time, like subconsciously, my natural state of being will pop out. Like my natural form of me will come out, even in the videos. Like my natural state of being, my goofiness and like my weirdness and craziness and me rambling will just come out, you know. And I realized that like that's probably what people like to see, is like me just being and existing. I just spit as I said that. But it's probably like why people love me, is because I am me, even if I don't realize that that's the reason that people love me. I know that that's the reason why I love me, and I am learning to, like, whenever these emotions and this energy in motion does come up, I've been like voicing it and just holding space for myself and allowing myself to immerse and take up space where I know it is safe for me to take up space. And that has been such a beautiful journey, and I've been able to recently experience that with like different relationships in my life. It's just been like holding space for myself and allowing myself to just immerse in that and allow myself to like flourish in that and be loved in that and just love myself in those spaces and hold that space for myself as well. Me, the version of me that was living in my mom's place, that just wished that they had these connections, wished that they were loved, wished that they can just exist and be loved. Like, all those versions of me are versions of me now that are holding space for me, that are loving me, that are showing up for this higher self version of me that is observing and loving. And I get to love all those versions of me now, and I don't have to push away like how that shows up, but just allow how things show up and voice them from a place of love for myself and for how I communicate these things. And yeah, wow, it is so vital. It is so vital to just allow yourself to exist. And I'm just so grateful that I'm like rewriting these stories that I had to portray a certain way. When I'm with myself, I love me endlessly. I love me in all my forms, with whatever comes up, with however my mind and my emotional state of being is. Like, I know, like, I really truly do love me regardless of what's happening. But when it came to external people, I always believed that they probably couldn't love me. One, because I've learned the capacity to which I love myself, and that's like endlessly. Like, I want to show up for myself all the time, every single day, 24/7. And like, I always thought that, like, because I do love myself, like, so openly and so genuinely and deeply, that I always felt like other people couldn't love me because they couldn't love me to that extent. But I'm like learning now that, like, I can be loved, and I don't have to hold people to that expectation of how deeply I love me, but I get to learn and understand how people do show up for me and how people do love me and hold space for me and honor me. And I think that's very beautiful. And yeah, and that doesn't mean like that doesn't mean that I've lowered standards or anything like that, but it does mean that I've learned how to honor myself enough to know when I am being valued in friendships, in sisterhood, in partnership, within myself. Like, it's learning like that I have the awareness of what that can look like and what that can be like, and if not, I am learning what that can be like and look like as I grow into these spaces and places. And I don't always have to have the answer to which capacity I am capable of being loved, but just allowing and giving space for that to fully bloom and blossom. One of the other things that I've been learning recently is like how anytime that I felt like I wasn't being loved enough, I would flee the situation with no say and just kind of ghost people. Love the butterfly. Love the butterfly. That experience is very different from actually not being valued and honored and cherished. And that is so different than not feeling loved, but actually having someone who holds that space of love for you, if that makes sense. And I've kind of been having like this like yin and yang, up and down type of balancing act within myself when it comes to that, because I had conditioned myself to the instant I didn't feel loved, excuse my burp, I had conditioned myself to the instant one little thing happened, or not even little, but if one thing happened, if something came up within me that made me feel unvalued or unloved or whatever it may have been, the instant I had felt something like that, I would just leave, because I'd be like, no, well, I know my worth, so I'm not going to deal with that. I'm not going to tolerate that. And that's true to some extent. If you're actually not being valued and you have already communicated your boundaries or how you feel loved and all these things, and it's not being like reciprocated, or it's not being shown up for, at least to a little bit of extent, or if whoever is not making an effort, that is when I feel like there is the sign for you to that it's time to leave. When these things have been communicated and they're not being shown up for, I feel like that is the signal when you should decide to leave, you know? And that is my own personal learning experience in this moment. But along with that, like, I've learned that having that mindset has also like limited me to my growth when it came to how deeply I can show up for me and for other beings, and how deeply like other people can actually love me. And I say this because I've been learning how to like voice when things do come up, and it's not always like, oh, I don't feel this or I don't feel that, but it can be like, hey, this came up for me today and I just wanted to share because it's what is coming up for me, and I would love if you can hold space for me in what I am feeling. And sometimes people will have the space, and sometimes their cups won't be full enough within themselves to hold that. But I think it's the journey that I've kind of been unraveling recently, is that showing up whenever these things do come up is what is building a firm foundation in any union, in any relationship that you have, in friendships, with your sisterhood, with your parents, with your siblings, with your partner, with yourself, within community. Like, communicating these things and holding space for these things is what gives you that opportunity and that possibility of being loved so deeply, of honoring the relationship and union, that those unions that you do have, and the unions that you have within yourself. So that's kind of what I've been learning, is like, instead of like just fleeing anytime I see like, oh, that doesn't align with me, or that is like a red flag for me, it's important to speak these things and what does align with you, so that there is that opportunity of growth and rearranging within any union, within any relationship and friendship and sisterhood, tribe. It's important to show up with full vulnerability. I'm allowed to just be my full vulnerable self, because that is what truly brings us into alignment. That is what brings us into love. That is what brings us into peace and harmony, is when you can hold that space, not only for yourself, but for the community that you do experience and bring in and love in. And again, that is very different. Being vulnerable is very different than being vulnerable and your vulnerability taken advantage of. There can be this like fine line of like when that is being crossed. So I feel like it's very important to like really understand yourself and know kind of your own self and what you will tolerate and what you won't tolerate, and communicate that and understand yourself, being firm within yourself, so that those things aren't crossed and you set those boundaries. It's given the space to communicate those things, and given the space for those things to be shown up for, and holding yourself accountable for your own responsibility of thyself, but also giving the space to be shown up for if that is actually benefiting you. And if it's not, then that is also okay, and both parties, all parties, are allowed to move forward and create that space where you both are being honored for it, and create that space where you both are being valued. And that may not always be easy either, but it's still coming with compassion and love for the existence and the situation.
Totally buying the pranks and things. But that's I'm bored for this, but I still.
As we move forward in today's vlog, we went to this like movie night at this park, and they actually have kind of like a marathon going when it comes to movie nights and then like concerts, and it's been so divine. It's been so beautiful to be able to like sit with strangers but also feel like community at the same time. Today we watched the movie Luca, which is one of my favorite movies ever. It always gets me, and I always end up crying because I just feel the energy so hard when it comes to the empathy they show in the movie. But this is just me vlogging that and like enjoying myself And also, I wanted to share that as I was wearing my shirt that says "You do you," and in the back it said "And I'll do me." That's the actual first time that I've ever worn anything like that, like symbolizing like being queer or anything out in public like that. As y'all might notice, I am very straight passing when it comes to my presentation of being queer, but it's what resonates with me. And it felt really good to just like put my shirt on and have it feel good and feel good with being able to express myself in that way. And like just embody like my full truest self, if that makes sense. Anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed today's vlog, and I love you, and I'm glad you are here, and this is your sign to go do something nice for yourself. I love you.